Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my end of season Grand Arena defensive review. It's coming back to you 2 months after the last one, or two Grand Arena seasons after the last one. Last season for 5v5, I wanted to do this, but I just did not have enough time to do it while it would have made sense. It was into 3v3 by the time I had a chance to make the presentation and analyze the data, crunch the numbers, so I didn't get to it. These do take a lot of time to get out, so if you do like these, just give a little bit of extra support and appreciation to this one if you don't mind. But getting into it, my season record was 5-4 for this 3v3, which, you know, that's kind of par. It's like you just want a winning season, and then you're coming out on top. My average score is 1809. I had plenty where I was above 2,000, but plenty that I just didn't clear and didn't even come close, which really brought me down. I was kind of surprised to have a score that high, honestly. And then my opponent's average score is 1579, even though I got walloped a few times with a few scores of over 2,000, even going over 2,050. But there's plenty of great defensive performances, which brought that down overall. Before I get into these specific defensive matchups, I wanted to take a second to review my past 5 seasons' performance and look at the total. There has been kind of a little bit of a narrative floating around that Grand Arena is just fixed income. It doesn't matter how much you try because you'll even out anyway. If you take some losses you shouldn't have, you're just going to come back and get easier wins in your next matchup. And I mainly hear people within like the Zareth Prevails circles saying that, specifically Zareth, and I understand his reasoning. I don't think it's like completely mistaken. Like for most people, you are going to have a fixed result. It's going to be 500 average every time, five wins, 5 losses, and you just need to make sure you stay in the best league you can. But I don't think that holds true, and I think you really need to try and stretch in Grand Arena because I think the way the squish works, it's kind of odd. When you lose, you kind of get squished back further in rank than you necessarily are represented in the points you go down. So I had in March 6-3 season, followed by another 6-3 in April, which was just fantastic. That's 12-6 over 2 months, which was just my best performance I've had in a long time. But only one losing season over these past 5 seasons. And I'm just one person, but I think 5 seasons is a decent enough sample size to challenge the thought that you're going to even out no matter what. Even 4 and 5, it's not like I got destroyed. It just barely had a losing season because it was really tough opponents. And after a June 6-3 performance in 5v5, which I was very happy with, this past season 3v3, I thought I was going to do terrible because I started out really high, but I had a great first week, 3-0, got into a top 100 bracket, and that brought 75% of my losses. I thought I was going to have the last one against Yab, or whatever his name was, the one where I got thwarted by just Tuskens. It was literally just one team. It was like such a threshold problem. If I had figured it out with JML, this could have been I would have had a different bracket, so I don't know. It might have even been worse. But 5-4 is still not bad, following a 6-3. And then my 5-month record is 27-18. That's 60% win rate. So winning 9 more than I lost, definitely not a flat record. So it just goes to show you can try to stretch. This is mainly for a crystal income perspective. You're not going to get like a higher rank. You're not going to keep climbing and climbing. Eventually, you're just going to get dominated by people that are super high rank and have amazing accounts. But I do think you should try to work as best you can and stretch your roster. And I still think Grand Arena has the best rewards and the best reward potential in the game. Moving on from that discussion, we're looking at individual teams' performance on defense. Starting with General Skywalker, I pretty much always put him on defense. That may or may not be a good idea. He performed pretty well. 49.33 banners average is not bad, but it's very skewed by just one round where I got a few holds with him. All 3 of those holds were in the same match. Otherwise, he did get one shot. Only one time with perfect banners, though. Most of the time, I drew 2 Galactic Legends. There was also like a Star Killer in there, a CLS, sadly, against my last opponent. So if I could know who's going to be able to take him out cheaply ahead of time, I would keep him on offense, but sadly, it's hard to know that. He doesn't benefit as much from this Datacron 3v3 as 5v5, which everyone is like that. But really him in particular, in 5v5, I think he's going to be a different beast on offense or defense. But on defense in 5v5, people just might respect him so much that they don't even bother trying anything weak, and he might not get any holds. But yeah, excited to see what he does in 5v5. Next on deck is Anakin Skywalker's son, Commander Luke Skywalker. I'm a little disappointed with his performance, but not too much so, because he did lose the Jupio Datacron. And I would have brought him on offense, but when I had him, I just felt kind of awkward, like I wasn't getting much use out of him. I did get a hold, so that led to a 35 banner win against him. But most of the time, people didn't have a problem. He had pretty good banners otherwise, so even with a drop, still averaged 51.7 banners. Didn't draw any Galactic Legends, and people seem to use Gidme against him a lot. I also saw some Iden Troopers take him out, which is a little disappointing. And he didn't have this much defense, because I did re-roll this Datacron before I took this snapshot of it. But he had the health and protection, and some defense. But yeah, like, I saw someone take out my General Skywalker with this team, so that made me really wish I took it on offense more, which I probably should have. But then when I looked at the stats on Swig.gg, that was a very low percentage matchup, so it was by no means a given. But anyway, it's like, this is kind of disappointing. If he had Han and Chewie, of course he'd do better, but Han and Chewie worked better with Dash for me this season, taking out Aphra with ease. Yeah, not too great for him skills. Next, we got the big Mac Daddy of the Sith, Malgus himself, who, everyone says you need to put Darth Revan Bastila with him, which I understand. But they did just fine without him, as you're going to see, and I think it might just be Darth Revan that runs the show. With Talon and Sith Marauder, I did lose once to Bounty Hunters, so that is unfortunate. Most of the time, people were using something good. I drew 2 Galactic Legends. It was either Sith Eternal a couple times, or Supreme Leader Kylo, I think. It might have been a JMK. But 2 wins with Star Killers, which is not bad. I mean, those are Galactic Legend level teams, so not too disappointed. In 5v5, it's an easy choice. You give him the full squad, and then Talon goes with Treya. But overall, disappointing. 55 banners from such an amazing character. I think it comes from people respecting him, but also there weren't enough Galactic Legend attacks for me to think it was totally worth it. So not a great performance this season, and it's partially just my fault because of the comp. And as I was just mentioning, I gave Darth Revan the MVP actually this season because he did fantastic. He drew 6 Galactic Legends. There was only there's only like 2 matches where people didn't use a Galactic Legend on him, and they lost first try. So this is an amazing team in 3v3. Back before Galactic Legends, this was probably like the best 3v3 team there was, and it's still really good. So, I don't feel too bad about splitting them up from Malgus, because it's 2 good draws instead of 1. And it's, that Revan and Malik are both R9s, even more valuable on defense. I think it was so valuable I didn't want to take it on offense at all. 49.75 banners, not bad. And that's when I got most of the banners taken off when people tried non-Galactic Legends, but drawing Galactic Legends on the front wall was exactly what I wanted out of him. So really happy with this performance. The ability block Datacron would have been better. I think that level 6 and 3v3 is just amazing. Because it really shuts down true solos like Sith Eternal Emperor. It makes it really hard for them because his team's so fast, and they're going to keep him ability blocked like almost the whole match. Stats weren't amazing, but they still had all the survivability from the level 3. So yeah, awesome job, Darth Revan. And Dr. Aphra, not the best performance because everyone knows her by now. You just use Dash Han and Chewie and just demolish it, and that's what I did too. But it's still a draw for Dash Han Chewie, and that's why I ultimately kept setting it on defense, even though I knew that, because otherwise Dash Han Chewie can be used against something else too. They're a really good team to get wins with against non-Galactic Legends teams that might otherwise be a close draw, or really Han and Chewie at least, if you put them with CLS. So I still kept doing it. Maybe it wasn't the best idea, but 50 banners average, not too bad. I did get 2 holds when people weren't trying Dash Han and Chewie right up front. However, nowhere near as good as she was with either her set 7 Datacron or her set 6 especially. that was the ticket. But I didn't get to use that in 3v3 ever. It was just the 200% potency was awesome for her. So 9 engagements, 2 holds, no Galactic Legends drawn, so slightly disappointing, but eh. Next up, though, this team was a pleasant surprise, and I think it's probably much better in 3v3 than 5v5. It's the Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. People are very used to it, and yes, there's the Newt Jango B1 counter, but people tried that a few times and still lost. The most common counter to him was actually the same comp. Those were wins typically. I think it was like a 52 and a 54 because they were usually losing their own Qui-Gon before the win. But yeah, I am very pleased with this. Average banners of 43 is fantastic. 6 total holds is amazing. Even though it didn't draw Galactic Legends, I usually had this set in the back and was very effective for what I had to do. The wins I did win weren't too close. But it was still some good banner stealing that gave me a bigger chance and caused them to waste more resources on this one team than they could have. In one instance, the first try, they actually got it down to just Cam and then lost again to Cam by himself. They tried Nest and Cam just ripped her to shreds. But awesome job, Qui-Gon Jinn. Next up, we got Lord Vader. I didn't set him too many times. It was only I think I only set him 4 times. And in one instance, the name Lord Failure did actually make sense because in my last match, he got beat by Fennec. If he didn't get beat by Fennec, maybe that match could have gone a little bit better. Actually, no, when I still would have lost. I barely got anything down. I had 3 zones still open. But I wish I just took him on offense. I had contemplated it because I was like, this opponent looks tricky. I'd like to have another Galactic Legend. And that definitely would have tipped the scales, I believe. But I set him on defense. And it was 3 times it was drawing a Galactic Legend. Twice it was Supreme Leader Kylo. I think once it was JMK. So that's not too bad in the end. 51.25 banners. Still drawing some. But it was just kind of hard to know what to do with him. I think if I put the Dot Kron, it probably would have been safer against Fennec. And then maybe even Thrawn instead of Royal Guard. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know what to do with Lord Vader in 3v3. Next Galactic Legend I set frequently on defense was Jabba. I set this way more than Lord Vader. The only other Galactic Legend I set with any frequency was Rey. But I took her off because she was just getting destroyed by Starkiller all the time. So it didn't seem like a good trade-off. He doesn't have the best Datacron options in 3v3. I mean, it should only give 15% health and protection to him and Chrysanthemum. I don't know if it's still bugged, but I didn't have much else to give him in the way of stats, so he didn't get too much. But in the end, I mean, it's just people use JMK. So there was 6 out of 8 battles were JMK, and this is actually a misnomer. It was supposed to be 8. There we go. 8 Galactic Legends drawn. So that's, I mean, basically what I wanted him to do. I had him in the back for a little bit, and people just had to save their JMK for it. When I moved him to the front, I was just making sure they use JMK and don't have him for the back. But I don't know. I don't know where the optimal place to put him is. Maybe it's on top. You only got 3 options, so I don't know. A couple of people did use Supreme Leader Kylo, and those were the lower banner wins, like the 51 and 50. And in a sense, I don't want to waste a super good Datacron on him because JMK is going to win anyway. But yeah, kind of did what he was intended to do. Next up, we got the Hondo team, and this was kind of a fail. I used BAM lead a couple times with him in like L3 or something. But I then switched to just the Hondo lead, which of course he doesn't have a leadership, but you do it just to get Grief and Queel and IG-11 with him. I was not pleased with it. I did get a Galactic Legend on it once, but I think it's because it was on the top wall and they just had nothing else hard that they needed to beat with him, so they just used the Galactic Legend. He did get 1 hold, which is okay, but otherwise it was pretty easy to take him out. It was really... there was no repeat win against it. It was pretty diverse. There was a bad batch. There was like a CLS or something. It wasn't too hard to take him out, so it was kind of a big fail for Hondo, and I mean, he's got the Omicron and such. I'm just not sure what the best comp with him is. Let me know if you have suggestions. Next up is the Zori team, and it's a little bit disappointing because it really is a strong team, but it was 8 up, 8 down. No holds at all, only one Galactic Legend drawn. But I think people just figured this out, and Revan has her number in 3v3. Use him with Yoda and Bastila or Giant Luke. I always use Giant Luke in Yoda, but I saw some other people have success against me with Bastila. Also saw CLS in there with just Chupio and C3PO. So I don't know. A little bit disappointing. I swore I got a hold at some point, but looking back at it, I didn't get any holds with his team in the results. Let's look at GG. But yeah, so real bummer for this team. In 5v5, I have bigger hopes for them. But yeah, did not get the job done here. More disappointment is Trench. I used Dooku and Jango sometimes, or Jango and Newt, but this did not really turn out well in the end. I think just I didn't have a great defensive performance this season. The ones I did win, I mean, there's some underrepresented features. I'm going to show you one match where I just dominated on defense. But it was only because I used a team I didn't set any other time, so it is a little bit skewed. But 55.8 banners average, it's not really good. No holes, no Galactic Legends drawn for counters. People used anything and everything, and it worked. I do have the optimal datacron even. I got the Trench one, the Riposte on level 6. But I think without Watt, it's just not going to get it done. My last opponent, they had Watt and Watt and Dooku, and that was actually pretty hard. I just couldn't get by it at the end because I ran out of stuff. But other than that, if you're not willing to give up Watt, you're just not going to get much done with this on defense. And next season, next 3v3, there's not even going to be the Trench Datacron, so he's really going to fall off. And the last common defensive team for this season was the Tuskens. And I did not have them picture perfect with the Datacron. You really want the level 6 where it's giving turn meter and extra dots. That really ties everything together, gives them tons of survivability, tons of damage with those dots. They still have a lot of dots anyway. But maybe I forget if there's dots generated by the level 6 or just the turn meter that's giving it through the leadership. I did draw one Galactic Legend. I did get one hold, and people were using General Skywalker, probably because of the revive prevention with the Tusken Raider Omicron. I do think this comp is absolutely the best, way better than Boba Fett Sign of Django. Really just puts you in a corner if you don't have the right stuff. I did re-roll my level 6, and I got the right one for 5v5, so I'll have one more season of that. But yeah, I mean, I was hoping for more, and I think if I had the right level 6, I would have got more. 51.71, it's okay. I mean, I got the hold in one match, but really nothing too impressive. Other Tuskens I faced, I mean, I saw this throughout. It was, if they didn't have the right Datacron, it was really easy. If they had the right one, it was pretty much impossible. So kind of a mixed bag for Tuskens. So that is my season review. I had some highlights there, but for the most part, I wasn't really impressed with my defensive performance. I need to study things more for next season and figure it out. And also, I think, to be fair, Zaris' arguments is that it's a fixed income mode. I think that's the specific thing. So I don't want that to be a difference in between my argument and his argument. But in the end, I do think you need to put as much work into Grand Arena as you possibly can, because you can increase your rewards that way. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy. I give extra appreciation if you like these season reviews, because they take a lot of work to make, a lot of time crunching numbers and looking things over and putting it together. So I'd love to hear from you if you do enjoy these. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to sub. See you later.